So the paper I'm going to talk to you about today concerns the democratizing effect of elections. It was done by a team concentrated at the University of Florida and here at Gothenburg, including myself, Stefan, Valeria, who's here in the audience, David Altman, our colleague from the Pontifical University of Chile, and Amanda Edgell, one of our doctoral candidates. And we're interested in the question of whether reiterated multi-party competitive elections bring improvements in democratic quality. There's a dilemma in the contemporary world in that both new authoritarian regimes and democracies both hold elections. And within the literature on political science, there is a kind of conflict over this dual phenomenon. There are some political scientists who argue that elections contribute to authoritarian stability, and others, including Stefan very prominently, have said that elections are a source of improving democratic quality. If you keep having them, democracy should get better. Using the V-Dem data, which has an amazing range, as you've all just seen in Stefan's presentation, we're able to test this not only in specific regions, but globally, regionally, and across different time periods. So this is what we did. So we ran a large regression analysis that included 173 countries from 1900 to 2012. The largest model had close to 10,000 country year observations. We ran time series cross-sectional analysis on this, and the thing that we were interested in measuring, seeing what repeated elections affected, was the protection of civil liberties and the rule of law. The argument here is, if we want to understand whether elections have a democratizing impact, we have to look at something other than the electoral component of democracy and see that it improves, something that's independent. So that's why we looked at rule of law and protection of civil liberties. The key variable explaining this was the number of uninterrupted multi-party elections, and we also put a series of standard control variables on this. So our results globally over the whole period showed a democratizing effect of elections. That is, the more elections you held, the more likely you were to have better civil liberties and better protection of rule of law. It ran across several different time periods, but we found the effect was strongest in the period from 1974 to 2012. That is corresponding with what Samuel Huntington called the third wave of democracy, our contemporary era. And we did some regional analysis. We found that the effect was strongest in Africa. It was also very strong in the post-communist world. We got more ambiguous effects in Latin America and the Middle East and North Africa. There we saw things where the findings were generally positive and significant, but not fully robust, as we saw in the other regions. And we saw no impact in Asia. This chart will show you sort of the effect of reiterated elections, the number of elections, and how that affected the protection of civil liberties and rule of law. The first line there you see is Eastern Europe, and there you see it's very steep, and it brings a very high protection in a very short period of time. The line under that is Latin America, and the one after that is Africa, the blue line, those two that cross. There again we see a fairly quick upward slope, but they don't get as high as Eastern Europe, and it takes them a little bit longer to get there. You'll notice that the line in Asia is almost practically flat after an initial improvement, and that the impact in the Middle East and North Africa, the red line, is fairly modest. So what are the policy implications? That if you continue to repeat competitive multi-party elections, you'll see improvements in the protection of civil rights and the operation of rule of law over time. The obvious policy implication is to promote holding multi-party elections, addressing one of the things that Thomas Carruthers talked about. We don't think early elections are a problem. That is, we should encourage the holding of elections because they should lead to improvements in the democratic qualities of polities over time. This was not something that we observed across all regions, so we think that perhaps policymakers should pay attention to regional specificities that one might try and promote this in other regions, in some regions where it seems to work, and stay away from other regions where it's perhaps less likely to have less impact. Thank you.
Thank you.